Wow. Oh, I'm not supposed to do impressions, am I? I don't do impressions. I'm Carl Brookins. Welcome to the Minnesota Crime Wave Presents. We've got a dandy program for you today, or this morning, or this afternoon. On my left, Ellen Hart, co-host, a writer, a mystery writer, a good one, a writer of two series, the Jane Lawless series and the Sophie Greenway series. And over here on my right, on your left, Kent Kruger, William Kent Kruger, author of the North Woods of Minnesota series, the Corcoran O'Connor series, winner of multiple, you both won several awards, so we don't have to go into all that. We have a really interesting program set up for you today, I think. We're going to talk about agents. Now, all you people out there who are writers, or you are thinking about writing, you want to be writers, one of the real both stumbling blocks and what would you say, aspects of writing that is very important is whether or not you have an agent and how, and we have a variety of experience about agents, and we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. Then we have a very interesting guest, the internationally known Lorna Landvik. She wrote something called The Tall Pine Polka, among many other novels, and we're going to talk to her in a little while. And finally, a very interesting writer has come on the scene. His name is Dennis Lehane, and he's written several really interesting mysteries. We're going to talk about one of them, give you a little taste of what he's like and what his writing is like. We're going to talk about a book called Gone Baby Gone. But first, let's talk about agents. Who wants to start? Do you want? Oh,
it's up to me.
It's up to you.
It's up to you.
Well, one of the reasons that we picked this topic to talk about is simply that we do an enormous number of events every year.
We do.
And we all teach. And there are a lot of writers who come to hear us. And one of the inevitable questions we get is, do I need an agent? And the other one is, how do I get an agent? Right. So that's what we figured we would talk about, since we've all had some experience in that regard.
Then there's a third question.
Which is?
How do we get rid of our agent?
Sometimes it comes down to that.
That's more, at the bar in the evening at the writers' conference.
That's right. That's in the second lesson.
Yes, yeah.
So what I thought I would do is begin this evening by having Ellen talk about her experience with agenting, because you, in fact, use an agent. Mm-hmm. And then, Carl, you don't use an agent.
Correct.
So your perspective would be valuable as well.
Correct.
I'm hoping, at any rate. Why don't you talk to us about why you have an agent and what you think the advantages are?
Okay. Well, I think we all have a different experience with agents. I started out at a small press, and so for most small presses, I would say 80 to 90% of the books that are sold are non-agented books. Small presses have their contracts aren't as difficult, and you have the option of passing it by an arts attorney or something like that, which is always a very good idea if you don't have an agent. But you don't need an agent to get a read at a small press, and so that's how I broke in to publishing. Long about my fourth book, when Random House came calling, I knew that I was going to need an agent, mm-hmm. and so I didn't know how to find one, and I sort of knew that if you had sold a book and I had a 4-book or 5-book contract with Random House, that it wasn't going to be difficult to find someone to step in.
5?
Yes.
Oh,
and so it wasn't going to be hard to find someone to step in, and of course it wasn't. That particular agent, I don't believe, was living on the same planet as the rest of us. And ultimately, I changed agents, and my agent now, I think, is terrific and necessary for my career. Now, you have a different experience.
I had a much different experience. Part of it is because of my age. When I first started writing, I began to talk to a lot of people about agents and the whole business of publishing. And people said, well, you need an agent. I said, okay. I said, it'll take you a year, 2 years, maybe longer, find an agent. And then your agent will go over your book with you and get things ready. And of course, you have to have your book finished first. And then your agent will try to sell the book. And that'll take a year, 2 years, something like that. And I said, okay, and then what? Well, so then you'll sign a contract with a book publisher, and then they'll tell you that it'll be another 1.5 years or 2 years before the book actually comes out. And I began to add that all up. I thought, gee, I could be dead by the time the book comes out. And I have a few other stories besides just this one that I'm just finishing. And this is, back in 2000, something like that. And so I said, now there must be another way to do this. I did some more research, and I'm fortunate in that my wife is a longtime publisher, and she was the principal contract officer for the Minnesota Historical Society Press. And so she knows a lot about contracts. So I have that aspect pretty well covered. And as a result, I decided to sell my books myself. So far, I've been successful in doing that. And that's the different kind of story. But I still feel, I should say this, in spite of the fact that I've been reasonably successful so far without an agent, selling my own books, and I know at least one author on the East Coast who has had 35 books published, 30 of which she sold herself. So it is possible to do it to the big New York publishers. But it's a lot easier in some ways, and in many ways, it's better if you can get an agent, because there are a lot of things an agent can do for you, and you have an agent.
Yeah, whenever students ask me, should I get an agent, my answer is sure, why not? Unless you're as old as Carl and we're dying first, you have nothing to lose, because an agent can do an enormous amount for you, particularly if you want to go with a New York publishing house. In my case, my agent was able to generate a bidding war between two publishing houses.
Which is rare.
Yeah. And it was terrific.
Yes.
and resulted consequently in a very good two-book contract for me. But in addition to that, what my agent does for me is she pursues subrights. A lot of the money that I make to live on comes not from the sale of the book itself, but from the subright sales. She runs interference for me. When I have a problem with my publisher, I don't have to bitch and moan and complain directly to my editor. That's what my agent does for me. She supports me and encourages me, and she edits me. She's one of my editors, so she does an enormous amount for me.
One of the things that I've heard agents say is that an agent-writer relationship is something like a marriage, in which so that you have to somehow approach it that way, so because you're working on a relationship that may be long term, and it is long term. If you sign a contract or you handshake with an agent, that agent is into you in the sense that any sales of that book, the percentage, whatever the percentage is, belongs to the agent. True?
Yes.
Even if you change agents.
Yes, true. I think agents differ, though. There are some agents who have to absolutely fall in love with the book. And those are the kinds of agents that will go to the mat with publishers. And there are other agents who just have to feel that there's some possibility of selling it, and they'll go with it for a while.
Oh, you want somebody who's going to go to the mat.
You do.
You want somebody who so believes in your work that they're going to champion that at every house, to every editor that they know.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they're really not doing their job, and they're not doing right by you.
Yeah.
Which brings me sort of to the next thing I wanted to talk about. What is it that makes an agent good, or conversely, what's a bad agent all about?
Well, I don't know if you remember M.D. Lake, but his agent used to be his editor. When she left Avon, she joined an agency and became his agent. And he said, she used to lie to me. She might as well now lie for me.
Last word about agents? We're running out of time.
They're necessary.
They're necessary. The only thing worse than no agent, though, is a bad agent. So you have to be very careful.
Absolutely.
That's our quick take on agents. And we'll probably talk about that some more, because there's a lot more to say about agents. We'll be back in a minute with our guest, Lorna Landvik. Meanwhile, here's a look at some of the topics we're going to discuss in upcoming programs.